Curtis Trades here, and today I'm going to show you how to get wires from up by your rear view mirror down into the two cubbies on your Jeep Grand Cherokee. And this works for most model cars actually. I'm just going to show you it on the Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's very simple to do, it's very easy, you don't really need any tools. Using a trim tool makes it a little bit easier, but it isn't necessary. I've done it without. I'm going to be using this for a dash cam hookup, and you can use it for radar detectors and other tech devices like GPS, for example. If you're looking for a dash cam, I highly recommend the one I'm using in this video. It's a Surfola SD710, and it's a really awesome cam, and I'll show a link in the description. And I've reviewed a whole lot of different cameras, and that's one of the best ones that I've found. It's got really good ergonomics, and it's at a really good price point. It's actually better than a lot of cams that are almost twice the price of it, so I do highly recommend that cam. Once you figure out where you want your camera, you put down this windshield protector. It makes it easy to get it off when you want to remove it or put a different one on. The nice thing about this cam is it has a magnetic mount, so it can just go on and off with ease if you want to take it out for security reasons. For the rear cam, just make sure it's in a spot where it's not going to be pinched when you close the back hatch. A few quick things to note are that when you're installing wires in your car, look at both ends of your cable and see which end is bigger, because you aren't going to be able to thread this as well as you will this end, for example. So make sure you start with the end that has the bigger item on it and thread your cable the opposite direction. Also, take note how long your cable is, because some of these cables are really long and there's not a lot of place to put extra wire up by your headliner, so you might need to estimate and find good spots where it is okay to tuck extra wire into, so that we don't end up with gobs of wire up by your headliner where you'd have nowhere to put them. So for this install, there's two main spots where you want to mount your wires to. There's one in this center cubby here underneath the radio, and there's one in the center console armrest as well. I like to use the one up in here. It just seems a little bit easier to get to, and I like to use this one for my cell phone charger because it has the port for the wire to escape here. Once you have these two opened, here's what you're going to do to loosen this panel to start the process. You just lift up on the front here, and then here you will lift up as well. There's a few spots underneath that stay, so it's kind of off to the right side. And that just loosens this, and that's all you need to do to get your wires down through this area here. And you can also twist it to the side a little bit like this to access it better. Now, to make it so you can fit your wires in here without them being visible and going over the top here, what I did was I used a file, and I filed the bottom edge right here where you can't see it, so you really don't even notice that I filed it, and the wire just slips right through this area in between the cubby space and the trim panel here, and you honestly can't even notice it. If I didn't mention it, you wouldn't be able to see it at all. So for being plugged in here, pretty much just put it under this area here and go down under this panel here. When you push it down through here, it goes right down into that area. You can kind of just pull these tabs out to help get you some more clearance. You just pull it straight out this direction. And pull your extra wire through. Just make sure you line up the notch on the wire with the notch that you made in your panel here, that way it doesn't pinch your wires. And then you just push these trim panels back in, push down on the top part and in on the sides. From there, this part is pretty easy the rest of the way. You're just going to tuck it under these panels here, and up underneath the underside here there's some foam pieces. You can just tuck it right up underneath there along this seam. Panel here, you just pry right off, pops off and pops right back on. It's really easy to do. You don't even need to pull all the way off, you can just leave it like this. You're just going to tuck it in up in here and then up along this edge here. And then around this corner here. Just make sure it's all the way in, and make sure it's not underneath any of the clips that are behind this panel here. And just push it back on like that. Then I like to go up along this trim. Once you make it up the A pillar, you're just going to tuck it in along the headliner over to the rear view mirror. And then most rear view mirrors have a little cover panel here that you can slide the wires down under. That way they're not showing from the headliner down to where the rear view mirror is. Then you plug them into your dash cam. For the rear cam, you plug it into your dash cam here, then head up back the same way to the headliner. But this time you're going to want to go along the passenger side, that way you don't have two sets of wires in the same area. And then you're just going to tuck it in along the headliner up past the A-pillar, and then you can go along the weather stripping above the doors and the covers for the B-pillar and the C-pillar. And then on the way, all the way to the back, you should be able to tuck it in just up under the trim. You don't really need a trim tool, but it's helpful if you have one for some locations. And then to get to the rear cam, you're just going to pop these panels down, just pull them down and tuck it up under them.